Christ. How long have you been waiting there for? I did say you weren't allowed in, but you can knock. I said you had the day off today so you can do whatever around the house. I'd prefer it if you didn't clean, though. Well, it goes against the purpose of having a day off, doesn't it? I'm going there now. You can watch TV or read some books from the library. Have you found any you've liked so far? Good choice. I think I've read that a couple of times. The cover is still quite fragile, though. It was one of my mother's favorites. No, the library is for your use as well. If you like that book, I have no right in telling you can't read it. Just treat it with care. I want you to stay inside. It's dangerous setting foot in the garden. Because I go out there for myself. If they want to finish the job, they can, and I'll have no regrets. But I can't watch it happen again. I've done this alone for a while. Another year won't change that. I can't protect you if you're out there. You know that, right? So why risk your life to pay respects to people you've never met, and the parents of a man you work for, no less? I'm only repeating it because it makes no sense to me. So if you weren't going to live until tomorrow, you'd have this be your last decision? You'd spend your last moments looking at gravestones with me? That's your own choice. But this will be the only time you're allowed out. Whatever happens will be on your head. Understand? Then hold this. It's a little excessive, I know. My grandfather became paranoid after everything, but it's a state-of-the-art system to make sure nothing gets in or out. I'm not completely against the idea. It helps me sleep better at night. I'm fine. I hire people to keep the land looking presentable. I'm not sure what I want to do with it yet, but profit isn't my biggest concern. If you want to try coming up with something, then be my guest. They're replaced every year. I don't trust anyone else doing it. No one will give it the care I will. Blue orchids are her favorite. She always had a vase of them in the living room, and she'd panic if they wilted. She knew how to take care of the flowers, but she hated seeing them wither. Placing them seemed like a hard decision for her. You wouldn't be here if they were still alive, so you'd never meet her. But I think you would have liked her. Everyone did. She was gentle, like a breeze. She was stern when she had to be, but she was the kind of mother that cared and never neglected anything. She made sure I was ahead of my studies, but not too stressed. She celebrated all the achievements I made, all the little things that didn't matter. Like, when I was younger, I could never tie my shoelaces. My father would breathe down my neck about it, and I used to get so frustrated that I would just tuck them to the sides and hope for the best. But my mother was so patient with me. We sat down together one day, and I tried over and over again to get it right. even when I was getting annoyed at myself. She didn't discourage me or give me a look of disapproval. She just patiently demonstrated and watched. It didn't take me long to finally manage. And when I did, she was so happy that she almost cried. And she pulled me into a hug and said I should do it 2 more times, then and there, because I'd already done it. Even after that, when I could seamlessly do it, she'd look down at my shoes and smile. That was it. That was all I needed to know her love was unconditional. My father, he showed it through tough love. I assume he was so busy with working alongside my grandfather that he didn't have time for me. But he curated my education. I didn't have regular classes. Because of the paranoia my family began to have, they didn't think it best to send me to a proper school. But they paid for tutors, and my mother was in the same room every moment of it. She looked gentle and kind on the surface, which she was, don't get me wrong, but if anyone were to threaten her family, she more than had the capacity to defend them. She'd done it before. You don't need to know the details. Just know that she was a fierce woman and loved by almost everyone who knew her. She would have liked you. Actually, if I think about it, if she saw you beaten up like that instead of me, she would have made sure you were looked after. She might not have brought you here to work, but I don't regret it, bringing you here. You wouldn't have been able to survive in that world, where people take advantage of you, where your luck turns sour, where you have nowhere else to go. Working for me will give you a head start. I've made an account for you. Every month I add in your wages, and that'll accumulate until you leave. Enough to start a new life. Wherever you want to go, I'll ensure you live it. Because I keep my word, and you've been helpful. Sure, the start was slightly underwhelming, but you learned and you've adjusted. And your company isn't the worst I've had. I don't like lying to myself on a day like this. I don't want to disappoint her. I know she would have wanted me to live life the way I wanted. I had an interest in criminology. I wanted to fight injustice and wear a badge of honor. Although I didn't know what my family really did, my mother used to say they were heroes in the shadows, getting rid of the bad guys, but no one knew who they were. I thought it was admirable, but I wanted to be on the front lines, to go somewhere, and if someone was in danger, to have the power to stop it right there. Before I could suggest it, this happened. From the beginning, they were setting me up to become a lawyer, and after my parents died, I didn't see the point pursuing what I'd originally planned. A part of me wanted revenge, and when my grandfather told me what his career really was, I worked my ass off to gather as much knowledge as I could to find the bastards behind it. No. By the time I finished college, my grandfather was on his last tether. And when he told me the reason why everything happened, it was too late. And I knew I couldn't do anything about it. No revenge, no justice. I had to accept that I couldn't get any closure, and that I had lived with such hatred in my heart for my grandfather when, honestly, I would have done the same thing if I'd known. I can't tell you, and don't ask about it. He took it to the grave, and so will I. What? No, I haven't talked to them. Why would I? I just stand here and be with them. I have nothing to say. Why do you like to meddle so much? You're not in a position to give me advice. Forgive me. I know you're just trying to help. I don't normally talk when I'm here, and I haven't visited their grave with someone before. Not even my grandfather. I couldn't stand being around him. That's why, even though law wasn't my desired choice of education, I could breathe a little easier at college. It was my first time being around so many students, and people in general, but I preferred it over this place. I kept to myself back then, and joined a couple of clubs like chess and literature to get the whole college experience. I didn't want to make relationships there. I knew I wouldn't be able to keep them because no one would be safe with me once I succeeded my grandfather. Still, I learned it's hard to be there on your own, and for the last year, I allowed myself to get a little carried away, knowing I'd have to cut all close ties when I left, no matter who it was. It pained me to leave all of that behind me, but I'll never forget my time there. Excluding the time I had with my parents, they were the happiest years of my life. It made me realize how different my life could have been, how sheltered I was as a kid, how blind I was to the world, and how naive I was to think I could be better. For a small amount of time, I lived with no worries. None. I felt free to be who I wanted, and I wasn't governed by a man I hated even though I was there for him. I suppose I have to thank him for that. What? Verbally? Do I just look and say it? Okay, I'll bite. Grandfather, I wanted to thank you for... What is this supposed to do? It won't change anything. Foreclosure? Okay. I wanted to thank you for looking after me when my parents died, for believing in me from the beginning. It meant that not only did you think I could help you, but others as well. And our methods may be unorthodox, but we still protect when we can. Thank you for sending me to college to get my degree, for allowing me to make good memories. Thank you for having hope that I'd continue your work, and I don't intend on disappointing you. I never got to tell you, but I'm honored to have had a brave grandfather like you. Knowing the consequences and making a decision that would have broken me. Struggling alone all that time. Accepting my hatred for all that time. I don't know how you did it, or why you still had faith in me, but I am proud to be your grandson. I should have told you that sooner. I feel a little lighter. You're good at this. I don't think I can talk to my parents just yet. Well, not what I've been thinking to myself all this time, but Father, I'm taking good care of your study. You'd be pleased by its organization, I'm sure. And no, I have to say this. I will never forget that I am still alive because of you. And I never thanked you or told you that I loved you because I was stubborn and could never say it. But I hope you hear me now and that you haven't been wondering all these years if I did. But I do, I promise. And Mother, God, I miss you. The house is dull without you. But don't worry. I'm eating okay, and I have company now, so I'm not alone. They broke one of your hideous vases, the one you always meant to get rid of. But I'm okay. I know you didn't have much of a say in what they wanted out of me, but I'm the hero in the shadows now, so I'll make you proud. I promise. I hope you can forgive me for any decisions I make that you might not approve of. Just believe in me, like you always have, and I won't disappoint you. I swear. You always hug me at the worst times. I don't do hugs, but I'll make an exception, I suppose. I can hear my mother smiling. When the weather is like this, it reminds me of her. What? Don't do that again. You should go in. Don't waste your day off being here. I'm grateful that you are, but you've done more than enough. I'd like to have some time alone. I'm escorting you. Because I can't watch you walk to the house alone. Today of all days. There's no need to apologize for the kiss. We were both rather vulnerable, and the emotions got to the better of us. It's natural. You're not fired, if that's what you're thinking. It was a simple lapse of judgment. Hold on. Fourth bookcase on the right. First shelf, gold trim. Try that if you're looking for something new to read. Okay. I'll be in at some point.